Well, happy 30-year anniversary.
Wait, are we recording? Are we on?
Yes, we are on one.
Thank you, Moose. How are you? Happy? Yeah. Well, I want to say to you, welcome back. And Moose was,
Yes.
by the way, welcome to the Passion Project. Like and subscribe, por favor. Share, whatever they say. You just came back from a nice little...
San Juan.
Did you really?
No.
Oh, I thought you were... I was going to say, you told me you were in Paris.
Can you imagine? I lied. I was like, actually, I was in Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
No, I came back from Paris.
So what were you doing in Paris?
I went for a wedding.
I
Went for a wedding.
Destination wedding, or is it like somebody who lived out there?
No, someone who lives out there, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It was a blast. I can't wait to go back.
Who was it?
It's my sister's friend. She's like a family friend, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a lot of fun. We saw family. I have family out there. We did Paris for a couple days, and then my uncle lives out in like the countryside.
Yeah.
So we stayed there, and it was so quiet and nice. Guess what time the sun went down?
Well, they're going through summer also, just like us, right?
Yeah.
So I'm guessing like probably like here, maybe like 8 o'clock, give or take.
9:58.
What?
I was sitting outside. We had a barbecue, and I like look up and I look at my phone. It was 9:58 p.m. Like it was like dusk.
Wow.
I was like, "This is insane. This is
That's
crazy." But yeah, no, it was a blast. I sat business class on the way home. I went from the wedding to the airport.
Really?
Wedding ended at like 4 a.m. ish. Around that time, I went back to the apartment. I didn't even shower. It was so gross. I brushed my teeth, washed my face, changed. I sat for like 25 minutes, and then I called the Uber. And thank God I had a business class seat.
Yeah.
Because I just passed out. I was out. I almost said the concierge. The flight attendant came up to me and she was like, because she saw I was marked under crew because my sister works for the company. So she was like, "Hey, you good? Like, do you need anything? Like, do you want to eat?" I was like, "No, I just ate before because I like bought a sandwich." I was like, "I'm just gonna sleep, honestly." She's like, "Okay." And I was like, "Maybe I'll grab some like ice cream later." She's like, "Okay, I'll wake you up when I'm serving the ice cream." I woke up. There was a melted bowl of gelato just sitting in my thing. And the lady comes back. She was from like Texas or something. She's like, "Darling, I did not want to wake you up. You looked so tired." I was like, "Yeah, I really was. Do you mind if I get a new bowl of this, please?" And yeah, it was pretty chill.
Was this your first time traveling to another country, or?
Oh, no. Your boy is seasoned.
Yeah? Where else have you been?
Thankfully. I mean, I've done like the Caribbean. I've done like Puerto Rico, DR. I've done Cancun. I've done Greece.
Okay.
Paris, Algeria, Morocco.
God damn, Moose.
Where else have I been in Europe? I was in the London airport, which is a headache.
Heathrow's crazy. Heathrow is crazy.
Yeah.
So when my wife and I went to Bali, we set it up. The way we set up the flights was, it was connecting flights, all obviously, but our connection was like always. The plane, everything had to be on time.
Yeah.
If there was going to be any type of delay, we were screwed. And the biggest one was in the beginning when it went Logan to Heathrow. The next flight was taking off. I think it was about 40 minutes later. And Heathrow, you have to take a freaking train.
Yeah, it's
like
so bad.
Like 40 minutes sounds like a lot of time if it's not Heathrow. But it would have been like plane lands, be those obnoxious people who grabs your shit and gets off the plane. Make it all the way across the airport.
Customs again. Yeah.
And if we were lucky, we'd make it just in time as the plane's boarding.
Yeah.
Logan Airport, right? The plane, it gets to the point where we're going to start boarding the plane, and all of a sudden they just stop boarding the plane. And I look at my wife and I'm like, "Nicole, they need to board this plane. Like, why are they delaying this?" I'm like, this is going to screw us when we get to London. Luckily, we're in shape. We're going to have to hit the sprints to do this. 10 minutes goes by, 15 minutes goes by, 20 minutes go. Now we're like, okay, we're screwed. We're never going to make the connection. It turns out the cart that brings the luggage to the plane, the dude, I don't know if he backed into the plane. He hit the plane with that cart. He hit the plane in a section where there was, I don't know what, but something, an important canister, something. They had to call an engineer to come look at the plane, but it was nighttime. So the engineer was like at home sleeping. So it took forever for the dude to come check out the plane to make sure it was safe to fly. So now this is 2020 right before, it was February 2020, right before COVID started in America, but it was already going on in China and stuff like that. Important part of the story. So we get on the plane and a lot of people are freaking out because they had connections and things of that nature too. On the flight, they said, hey, listen, when we're going to land in Heathrow and then just go talk to somebody, from the staff. They'll figure out your connection stuff. Right now, we have everybody who was supposed to, where were we supposed to go? I think from there, it was supposed to be Heathrow to Singapore, Singapore to Bali. They said right now we have everybody who's connecting to Singapore going to Hong Kong instead. And then from there, connecting to Singapore to Bali. So now a bunch of people start freaking out because they were like, Hong Kong, China has COVID, blah, 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 blah. And this is when nobody knew what COVID was. So Nicole has a talent.
Oh, yeah, sweet talking the gate agents, yeah.
It's not even sweet talking. It's literally being nice. And the fact that she's being nice to somebody who just had to deal with a bunch of people not being nice.
Oh, yeah.
Then it makes it seem like she's really being extra nice and sweet talking.
How you do it.
So people are freaking out with the staff, and my wife goes up and she's just like, no. So before he goes up, there's this one girl. Probably she had to be like 23, 24. She was very young.
Oh, this is the girl that stowed away with you?
Yeah. Told you the story before.
Yeah, I would have been pissed if that was.
So she's freaking out because she was nervous by herself, young. She had literally the worst friends. We kept on telling her, we were with her for a long time, and we kept on trying to get into her that her friend group was not nice people because she was nervous because she's like, I have to be in Bali by a certain time because I'm going to meet my friends, and then we're going to take they were going to take either a small flight or a boat ride to a different island or something to go hang out. But her friends told her, if you're not here by this day and this time, we're going to leave without you. They're going to leave this girl by herself traveling to Bali for the first time because they want to they don't want to delay starting their fun. It wasn't because they were like, well, we have to be here by a certain time. No, they just were like, we want to leave this day so we can start our fun.
Yeah.
And we're going to screw their friend. So we could tell she was panicking. So we kind of took her off to the side and we said, just hang with us. We'll figure it out. So now we're walking up, we're in line to talk to the agents, and everybody, these poor agents, just like people are just freaking out on them. Like they're the ones that, It's funny how people get irrational when they're mad and when stuff happens.
I remember I used to be.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Like you work for the company, therefore you are responsible for everything and it's like,
it's my fault that there's a thunderstorm outside because I did this and
don't you know what I have going on?
Yeah.
You should be in my head and know my schedule. So everyone's freaking on this poor lady. My wife gets up to her and again she's just like, hey, listen, I know there's nothing you could do about this. Just basically was asking her like, what are the options here? Being really nice. I looked at Audrey and I said, I'll bet you right now we're flying first class at some point during this flight. I can just tell you that right now. Sure enough, my wife turns around and she looks at Audrey and goes, have you ever flown first class? And she said, no. She goes, you are now. So we got a first class trip to Hong Kong. And then from Hong Kong, we connected to Singapore, and then from Singapore to Bali. But now we go to Hong Kong. And now, have you ever been to the Hong Kong airport? Biggest airport I've ever been to in my life. I don't know if there was 400 gates or whatever, but there was like gate 400 and whatever. Like the way they were numbered, huge. But what made it seem even huger, bigger, whatever the word is, was that it was empty because it was during COVID, so it was like empty. So it was like a horror movie where like 3 people make their way into an empty mall or something, and the zombies are chasing them. So we're in this airport, freaking dead. We're in line to get to the wherever you pass to go to, like right before you board the plane. And we saw people, they had like water bottles, and they were going like this on their forehead. in front of us.
Oh. Yeah.
And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And so we asked one of the guys, why is everybody rubbing their water bottles on their head? And they said, well, because at the end of the line, they're doing temperature scans. And anybody who comes up, like high, immediate 7-day quarantine, no questions. We don't care what you have going on. Again, this is the beginning of COVID, and we were in freaking Hong Kong. So now I'm panicking. I'm like, I feel fine, but it's kind of like it's kind of like when you're in a store and a security guard kind of like starts looking at you and you start going like, did I steal something? Shit.
You're like, did I slip something in my pocket?
Yeah. I'm like, do I have a fever? Do I have I feel fine? Shit, maybe I do feel warm. Anyway, we passed. Get through. By the way, at this time, it was February 2020. People already, remember when COVID started out here and people were just wearing like construction masks or medical masks, and then eventually
N95.
Yeah, the N95, and then eventually, like people started decorating and putting like cartoons and everything like that. They already out there had like the freaking Hello Kitty masks, all that stuff. It was crazy. So we flew from Hong Kong. Audrey stayed with us to Singapore. Audrey stayed with us. Fly from Singapore to Bali, get to Bali, and they were like, we lost one of your... no, this was in... I think this was Singapore, where they said one of your luggages got put on the wrong plane. So one of you is going to end up landing in Bali with no luggage. And I'm just like, oh, God. Don't let it be me. Don't let it be me. Don't let it be me. It ended up being Audrey's. Now, the way that the flights work in Bali, those flights from Singapore only came once a day at the same time at night. So now we're in Bali. She's got no luggage. She got nothing. So we said, you know what? You could just stay with us where we're sleeping. This little resort where we were going and celebrating. It wasn't our anniversary. Well, it was right after our anniversary, so we didn't lie. But we told the place it was like our anniversary. So we walk into this resort, and everything the dude had set up was like for 2 people. Like the little the stuff on the bed, everything.
The roses, the candles,
little desserts that they got for us.
And then you walk in with Audrey.
Yeah, we walk in with Audrey. So the guy kept on going like, and this is for you guys. And he'd look at her and go, sorry.
Yeah.
So now she's with us. Okay, let me ask you a question. You're not a parent. Eventually, you're going to be a parent.
Uh-huh.
One of your kids flies out to a country that they've never been to before, halfway across the world, lose their luggage. They're by themselves. And they call you and they say, hey, this is the situation, but it's cool. Like, this couple letting me hang out with them in their room. What would be your next move? Don't overthink it.
What about your room?
Not even. No, you'd probably want to say something like, hey, can I talk to one of them?
How old is the kid?
She was like 22, 23.
I don't know if I would say. I would be like, well, what about you? What about your room? Like, what about your stay? Like,
I don't have a room. I don't have any money, so I'm staying with them until I get my luggage tomorrow night. Like, at some point, maybe it wouldn't be your
I would
first
be. I'd be like, who are they? Like,
At some point, you'd want to kind of like be like, hey, can I talk to them or something, or look at them?
Yeah, are they normal?
Yeah, like I would be like, cool, put one of them on the phone, just so I could thank them.
Yeah, exactly.
And to see if they sound fucking nuts.
Yeah.
Blah, 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 blah. All right, see you later. Love you. Bye. Click. We were like, yo.
Wait, was she in the same room as you guys?
The same room.
Were there 2 beds?
So,
or was there like a cot?
No, there was one bed for 2 people, and they set up. There was like another little. I guess it was like a sitting area. It was almost like a built-in. I guess you could say it was a sitting area. It was one of those resorts where it was like we had our own little pool. And there was tables outside, outdoor shower, and then the inside part, sliding doors. You walk in, there was a bed, there was that little area, which I guess you could say. I think it was just almost like a shelf to put your luggage and shit on.
Yeah.
And a bathroom. That's it. because it was beautiful weather and stuff. So the shelf thing, they basically got her like, they just got her a bunch of sheets and pillows and stuff, and that's kind of like where she slept. Like they didn't have any rooms, any extra rooms at the time. We're gonna get to the fun part at that time, so they set that up for her. So she stayed with us. They said we'll have a room like in 2 days, and she was thinking she'd be gone in 2 days. So the next day, we went out of our way to go back to the airport with her, get her luggage, all that stuff. Now it's 2 days later. She's still hanging out with us. With no I'm gonna leave anytime soon.
No, like humility, like no.
Yeah, that's just like she was just chilling with us.
Yeah.
Had her shit at this point. And she was a nice girl, don't get me wrong, but we were like, hey, we kind of like want to hang out, just us, if you don't mind. And we kind of gave her the hint, and she was like, all right, oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I'll get my own room. But hey, I really want to thank you guys for, letting me stay with you and helping me out and all that stuff. I want to take you guys out to dinner tonight. All right, cool. So.
Oh, I know. I forgot about this part, yeah. Oh, I would have been so angry.
We go out to dinner that night, and I remember I was starving. I was so hungry. We went out to dinner, though, and I'm like, I'm not going to, like...
You don't want to force it, but at the same time.
Yeah, but I'm like, I'm not going to get a lot of shit, because I know she's...
she's young or whatever.
She's young, budgeting, planning to, probably, spend money with her friends.
Yeah. You were like,
who were fucking at... Again, the whole time, we're like, yo, your friends suck. 'Cause she would be calling her friends, and they were like, if you're not here by this day and this time, we're out. I said, yo, you got some bad friends.
Yeah.
Like, terrible friends. Like, not one of them could, come over here and pick you up or set anything like that. So we finish dinner. They bring the check, and it's just there.
It's just...
And I don't like playing that alligator arm shit. Like, we're more of, fighting with, if we go out with couples, being like, no, we got this type of situation.
Yeah.
Unless, beforehand, the person says something like, I want to treat you to dinner for this specific reason. Like was told to us.
Yeah.
So after the fucking bill being there for, an uncomfortable amount of time, we just grabbed that shit and paid it. And she was like, oh, my God, thank you so much, guys, whatever. Look, I said, yo, if I knew we were going to pay for dinner, I would have fucking ordered more food. I would have ordered so much more.
Isn't it cheap in Bali?
It's crazy cheap.
Yeah, how much was the bill? Like $20?
I don't remember for that specific one. It was probably something to that effect, but there was another restaurant. That restaurant was a little more touristy, so it was a little more price out here. But Nicole and I went to a hole-in-the-wall spot with amazing food. We ordered appetizers, multiple appetizers for each of us, entrees. We got some drinks. We got dessert. It came out to about $8 American.
Yeah, I've heard
crazy.
It's so affordable.
Yeah. And it's like good portion. You know what I mean? They feed you. So anyway, now we're like, all right, well, whatever. No big deal. Why the next day? So this resort we went to, really, really cool. They would, if you were going anywhere kind of that wasn't walking distance, they would drive you to the spot, and you call them and they pick you up. So we wanted to go to this beach that was a little far away. They drove us to the beach. We went, hung out, all that stuff. Called them to pick us up. They come pick us up. We get in the car. Audrey's in the front seat. And we're like, hey, what are you doing? And she goes, oh, man, I have to go. They have to bring me to the clinic because I have crazy strep throat or something. Look, she turns around, opens her mouth. All you saw was the nasty sickness in the back of her throat. And I'm like, yo, this girl just gave us COVID in Bali.
Oh, my God.
She didn't. She had strep throat, but
still.
That was...
Did you get sick?
Didn't get sick, no,
okay,
thank
good.
God. But I was like, I was fully expecting to get sick. I'm like, and this is going to be the final thing she's going to give us.
I think we should call Audrey on the morning show one day and get her perspective. And she was like, he told me he was going to pay for everything.
Yo,
Audrey, if you ever find this clip, please contact the Hot 96.9 Morning Show. We would love to hear from you.
Audrey, you're nice, man, but your friends suck.
Your friends suck, Audrey.
And your parents should have wanted to talk to us.
That could have been a 2020 special right there, but she got real lucky.
If we were crazy, we could have easily kidnapped her.
Yeah, easily.
Easily kidnapped her.
And she was so willing to go
Murdered
as well.
her, dumped her body somewhere, and nobody would ever
have known.
Yeah. But the thing I did respect about her was that she was kind of like you, where she might have been 20. At the most, she was 24, but I'm thinking she was like 22, 23. And she would do, as naive, I guess, as she was somebody who traveled like crazy. She's like, I've been this place, this place, this place. You know, she was very much like, I'm young, I want to take advantage and travel as much as possible. And I was like, well, I really respect the hell out of that, because I think a lot of people need to travel somewhere.
Exposure. Yeah.
Yes. That's not America.
Yeah.
To know that there's other viewpoints, other cultures, other ways of living your life that isn't rushing, that isn't all about you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. My parents used to take me to Algeria for 3 months.
Really?
We would spend June to August. When I mean till August, like we would get home the day before the last day of summer. Like I would have school in like 48 hours. 3 months.
Yeah. A lot of parents that...
And we were staying with family. We were not in a hotel. We were right with family in the middle of everything.
Well, a lot of families that aren't from America, like if the parents aren't from, they'll do that with the kids.
Yeah, well, because they're going home. They're not going on vacation.
Right.
They're going to see their family.
Yeah, exactly. Like my son, his little friend from school, she's Brazilian, and the parents came here from Brazil. And they would, the summer, they would take her to Brazil. And then during the school year, too, they'd be like, you know, we'd be like, where's your friend? And he's like, oh, she's in Brazil. For how long? 3 weeks.
Yeah.
You know, stuff like that. And she was like mad young. Like, I'm sure when she's older and like school gets more important, they won't do it as long. But yeah, you should 100% do it, because I think a lot of people out here, they don't realize. They don't realize, but they act like they know how the world works.
Yeah.
But it's crazy. Like, there's one dude who we met out in Bali. Guy from Pittsburgh. I kept on telling him to start a podcast. Listen to his story, right? He was originally from Pittsburgh. He had a job in, I want to say it was the oil industry or something. But he was like, I was single. I was making good money. I had a house. The important part about that, because we were talking to him and another guy from China. I'm going to show you how the cultures are different. And by the way, that's another thing too. If you travel, like, don't
just typical American.
Yeah, don't do like just the tip. Don't walk somewhere and be like, oh, that person's American, and you like, I don't know, wearing the American stuff. And go somewhere that's not the touristy spots too. Go somewhere where you feel uncomfortable. Honestly, you know. So, talking to this dude, guy from China's there too, saying all that stuff, and he said. And then one day, whatever his job was, he would kind of be on call like 24 hours. So if there was like an emergency, sometimes he had to, like, if it was like at 2 a.m, he had to get up at 2 a.m. and go check out the situation. So he said one day he went to talk to the owner of the company, and the owner of the company said to him, like unsolicited, was like, dude, are you married? No. Do you have any kids? No. He said, I don't want you to be like me. I feel like you're going to be like me. And he goes, what do you mean? He goes, I have more money than I'll ever spend in my life. Very successful. I'm married. I have kids. I never do anything with my family, though. All I do is this. All I do is work. I know my family loves me, but we don't have a real like type of relationship.
Yeah.
Because of this. I'm always working. I'm gonna retire in a couple of years, but I don't even know what I'm going to do because all I've done is this. And when I retire, you tell yourself you're going to do certain things, but then you don't realize that you're going to be old and you're either going to be too tired or not able. You know, a lot of people are like, oh, when I retire, I'll go climb that mountain or I'll go do this.
They're not able-bodied, yeah.
Yeah, and you're like, really? I mean, you think you're going to be 28 years old when you retire?
Yeah.
So he was telling him all, he goes, you should experience life, whatever. And in the midst of the conversation, I guess the boss told the dude, like convinced him, like, go travel and stuff. And he goes, and if it doesn't work out, you can come back and I promise you, you'll still have your job here. And the kid said, I'm out. And he thanked him. He said, I'm out. He goes, but I guarantee I will never come back to work for you. So he sold all his shit, sold his house, sold everything. He said he was like, he slept on his brother's couch while he was planning out what he was going to do. And then he started traveling. And I forget, he was listing off all the countries so what he would do is just like go to a country for like a couple of weeks, a month, a couple of months. Like he didn't say, okay, I'm going to go here for a month, here for a month, here for a month. He'd go somewhere and hang out. And eventually if he's like, I feel like moving on, he would move on somewhere else. So anyway, the whole time he's saying this, my wife and I are like, oh my God, that's so cool. And the guy from China was like, you sold your house? He couldn't get over the fact the guy sold his house. And he's like, yeah, I sold my house. He's like, I don't need my house. He goes, yeah, but you had a house. You had your house and you sold it. And he was like, yeah, but I didn't feel like renting it out or dealing with that. I didn't know where I was going to be and having to, deal with that stuff. What if something happens? Now I got to connect back. Because he like completely basically disconnected with everybody and everything in America. And the Chinese guy just kept on going, dude, if I had a house, I would never get rid of it. It was just a funny conversation. But anyway, so we're like, how long have you been in Bali? Oh, I've been in Bali for a couple of months, blah, 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 blah. What are you going to do from here? He goes, I don't know. I think I was thinking about going to South Africa next. And I said, well, what are you going to do like if your money runs out? He goes, my money's going to run out eventually. He goes, first of all, I'm not living like a baller. And I know my money's going to run out eventually, but if it does, he's like, I can shovel, I can whatever, but my plan is to never go back to America, to the point where his grandmother died. And I guess he was really close to his grandmother, and he was talking to his mom, and he said, should I come back for the funeral? And the mother said, no, stay out there. Because I don't want you, because I can tell, she said she could tell that he loved what he was doing, and that she didn't want him to like come back and have anybody kind of guilt him on his choices. So he'd feel like shit. So he missed his grandmother's funeral. This was, I forget how many years, but it was like years of him traveling and not being in America. And I'll go to Nicole, I'll be like, I wonder whatever happened to that dude. Like, where's he at now?
It's very like into the wild, but like
dude,
global.
I kept on saying to him, I go, you need to start a podcast.
Yeah.
No. I'm like, no, you really do. I'm like, you'll make money by accident.
Yeah.
Literally just like talking about the stuff that you're doing.
You see, here's the thing though, like those kinds of people, like more power to them, because they just, they want to see the world. And I wish I was like that. I do like to travel. I really do. I love it. Yeah. But I can't do that.
Really?
I can't. I don't think I'd be able to. No, I can't. I can't. I would love the experience of like going to as many different places in the world as I can, but like that to that extreme, I don't think.
Yeah, well, his version was
I don't think I could, because I like to come back home.
Yeah.
And reset and start again.
Yeah, you want a home base.
Yeah, I need a home base.
It makes it almost. Well, I could see his side too. I was gonna say it makes it almost more special because of the resetting part.
Yeah.
But in a way,
I can't live out of a backpack.
Yeah, he was 100% living out of a backpack.
I can't. No.
He was 100% living out of a backpack. He was super. You have to be special to do what he was doing, because he was extremely social. He had extremely good energy.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even remember how we started talking to him.
Yeah.
I just remember seeing him.
He's like wanderlust,
Sometimes you see someone and you're like, and he kind of looked like a little bummy.
Yeah.
But sometimes you just see someone and you're like, I don't know, I like that person.
Yeah.
I haven't even talked to them.
Yeah, no.
But you could tell, and we started talking to him, and he was a cool dude. But if I could just Would I do? Okay, let me think about this.
No, I don't think you
I
could.
can't because of my kids.
No, but even if you didn't have kids and I can't see you. You like your routine way too much.
I think I would need a home base type of situation. But
Those types of people are extremely like sporadic and very,
yeah.
Like you're very regiment.
Yeah.
You could do it for like a long period, but then I feel like you would hit a point.
Yeah.
Where you'd be like, all right, I need to go home. I need to reset, and then I'll pick up back again. But I'm the same way. Like there's no shame in that.
No, I'm not ashamed. I'm just trying to think like how often, if I could, how often would I like to travel?
Like, okay, I'll give you an example. Then like, let's keep it like domesticated. If you got an opportunity to go on tour for whatever, like the radio, hosting, whatever, and you guys did a bunch of shows around the country, would you do that?
Yes.
You would hop on a tour bus with the morning show and do it.
100%. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay.
I would love that. I love every time. Okay, when you travel, do you do the thing of like, if I had to move here, would I? Because I literally do that every place
I did that in Paris.
Yeah.
That was the first time I had. No, I lied. I did that in Greece. When I was in Santorini, I literally said, you know what? I think if I throw my passport in the ocean, I'd be okay.
Okay.
I could so see myself like just getting a little thing, maybe opening up a coffee shop, and I felt so much content in that moment.
Yeah.
And that was a little scary. I felt that in Greece, and I felt that in France. France, I was like, I think I could make this work.
Yeah.
But most times I don't feel that way, no.
See, but I always...
You do it every time?
Well, I ask myself that question whenever
okay.
I go. I'm like, okay, if I had to move here, would I? I went to Australia, and I was like, I could live here.
Yeah.
I could live here. Why the hell not?
Yeah.
Bali, I enjoyed it. I don't know about living there. Visiting and hanging out a lot, definitely. Italy, yeah. I definitely could see myself living there. Aruba.
Have you done Greece?
I haven't done Greece. I do want to do Greece.
You
I
need
do want
to.
to do Greece, yeah.
That's a great trip.
Yeah.
I don't know if you could go with the kids, though.
Not with the little ones.
No, maybe your older ones, not the little ones.
Yeah. Eventually when they start getting older.
Yeah.
They're starting to get to that cool age where we could bring them to stuff.
Yeah.
Though, but
Oh, Greece is phenomenal.
yeah, I definitely would like to do Greece. There's just so many places that I wanna.
We got to talk about your radio career. I mean, today's a very important day.
Oh, yes.
We're like talking about our dreams, aspirations on a plane, but today marked the 30th year of Ramiro Torres's radio career.
30 years ago, baby, first radio show.
Now, we've already done 2 episodes where we've dived into your story. If you haven't seen it, you can go back and check it out. They're titled Ramiro Interview Part 1 and 2. So you can hear his story about how he started up and everything and all that journey. But today, I had 20 minutes to come up with a concept. And I think the rest of this episode will be fun.
Okay.
Because instead of being like, what was it like, go back to that episode if you want to watch that. We're going to hit a bunch of different topics that you have or might have covered in your radio career. And we're going to see if you remember
Oh, God.
what it was like during this time. So obviously you worked in music, so a heavy portion of this might be music, but we're also going to hit some like current stuff. Okay, so year 1, I can't do math. What was 30 years ago? 1995. I'm an idiot.
You were -5?
I was -5. That was such easy math.
My wife was 4.
Wow.
Yeah. She was about to turn 5.
She's about to turn 5. Nicole's 5 years older than me.
She was born in 1990. No, Nicole's 10
She's 10 years older than me. I'm an idiot.
What is wrong with you?
I can't
really
do
suck at
math. Terrible at math. I'm not kidding. I really don't know how I did good in school. Anyways, all right. 1995.
Yeah.
Do you remember your first ever song that you played?
Oh, my God, yeah.
What was it?
I can tell you, I came out of Total Eclipse of the Heart by Nikki French, the dancey version, not the original. And I talked into Hootie and the Blowfish, Let Her Cry.
That was your first ever.
First ever.
And you were just sitting there going,
First ever. I was like, I'm Ramiro. I'm the new guy, and this is Hootie and the Blowfish. It was terrible, but I remember.
You remember it?
100%. Yeah.
All right. Do you remember your first ever interview? Celebrity interview.
Yeah. You're gonna. It's funny because if you ask me like what I had for lunch yesterday, I'd be like, I don't know. But if you ask me stuff like this,
significant moments, yeah.
First interview was Blackstreet. That was so. My first show was at Fun 107. That's why I was talking.
Rhode Island. No.
New Bedford.
New Bedford. No.
So my first interview though was at Jammin', and it was Blackstreet.
All of them.
Yep. I talked mostly to Teddy Riley though, but it was all of them in there, and I was filling in for the midday show, 10 to 2. Because I was on weekends, I was filling in, and they came in, and they were like, "You're gonna interview Blackstreet," and it was the worst interview ever. You know who was in there too? You know the song No Diggity?
Yeah.
You know how there's a girl rapping on it?
Yeah.
She was in there too. I remember she was sitting in the corner, looking bored. But everything that I would ask them, first of all, I wasn't interviewing. I wasn't talking with them. I was like. It was just so bad. It was so bad.
We gotta pull up clips. We gotta see if we can find if there's any.
If you find it
on the iHeart website somewhere.
Yeah, it was.
They probably have all of this archived. You know.
I don't know. This was probably like 96.
Yeah, well, they saved everything back then, so I'm sure.
I don't know, but it was so bad. I just remember asking him a question. Not listening to the answer, and then asking
on to the next one, yeah.
and moving on to the next question. And whatever answer they gave me, I would always go, "That's cool.
Yeah,
that's cool." I couldn't tell you what they said to me
because you weren't in your body. You're just
was so just like I don't know how to do this. I've never done this, so it was terrible. So I'd like to apologize to Blackstreet for that awful experience. It was so bad. It was so bad, and it was funny because it was one of those things where. Like the second I finished, I immediately was like, "That sucked." But
it's your first one,
yeah. But that was my mentality. I was like, "That sucked. It's only gonna get better from here."
Yeah,
you know, because I immediately was like, "Okay, well, I could do this better, this better, this better, this better, this better." But yeah, it was awful. But the answer, yes, Blackstreet.
Okay. So obviously, radio back then was a little different, especially in the music industry, because artists relied so much on radio for their careers. Now, you predominantly worked in hip-hop, R&B, right? Would that be a appropriate thing to say? What to you was a standout single? Let's say I'm a new artist, I'm dropping my album, I'm putting my single out. When you listen to or were choosing to play a song or whatever, what to you was a standout? Was it the beat, the lyrics? Was it like a blend of things?
I've always been a beat guy. I think, some people are more in the lyrics, stuff like that. But as far as like for radio hits, it's got to be, I guess the best word you could use is catchy.
Mm-hmm. And 3 minutes and under.
Yeah, but just more catchy where it's like I got a catchy hook type of thing.
Yeah.
Usually a little bit more, I mean, there are slow jams and stuff that work, but usually a little bit more in the up-tempo type of vibe. Like right now, at the top of my head, the first thing I thought of was More Money, More Problems.
Really?
Like the second I heard that song, I'm like, oh, the song's a hit.
I thought of smash. I'm thinking like Fantasy, Mariah Carey.
That one too.
Yeah, that's
a very. But More Money came before that.
Yeah. But I'm thinking of like that era. Like what was a catchy?
Oh,
yeah,
100%. That. Like
a lot of the girl group stuff, probably, right?
A lot of the girl group stuff, like Jay-Z, Can I Get a What?
Yeah.
Like the second that came out, like there's just some songs that, back then, again, they used to have to kind of pick and go, okay, let's see if this is going to be a hit, whatever. They were a little more choosy with the songs that they were going to play, but there were some songs that I'm just like, all right, that's a freaking no-brainer. That's a no-brainer. Then there were other songs that the station would pick, and I'm like, really? And the song, sometimes, they were actually pretty good at picking the hits. So a lot of times the songs would end up being hits. It was just like a level of hits. Sometimes they were smashes. Sometimes they were like really, really good. But
isn't it interesting? Do you look at music and everything now and radio, and it's so different because it's like it's streams and independent artists blow up on their own.
Yeah, well, it used to be you blew up on the radio, and radio was like the first in the what created the momentum.
Yeah,
almost.
the pipeline.
Yeah, the first in the pipeline. Now it'll be something that blows up like on TikTok or blows up like on a streaming TV show or something like that. And then radio will pick up on it.
Yeah.
So radio's like later on down the chain.
Yeah. Like Hot 96.9 I know plays Anxiety by Doechii a lot now.
Yeah.
Because like that was bumping on like TikTok and stuff.
Yeah, and also, I mean, Hot's not gonna like really, definitely is not. Just the way the station, it's more of an old school.
Yeah. It plays
station,
the hits.
So, yeah, so it's definitely not gonna be first with anything. It's not gonna be like, yo, let's try this, see if it's gonna be. It's just not, the station's not designed that way.
It's different too, so yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Did you ever go to any award shows? You worked for iHeart. Did you ever go to any iHeart Music Awards? Did you go to any VMAs?
I definitely went to the iHeart Music Awards. I went to not VMAs. I went to AMA. I went to the Billboard Awards. Never the Grammys. All like the second-rate awards.
Yeah, like the Billboard Music Awards, American Music
Billboard
Awards.
Music Awards.
Is there any like significant performance you remember? Is there something from any of those?
Not at all. I really didn't care about them.
No.
The most significant thing was from before the show. It was.
You were backstage, I'm assuming.
No, they used to do a thing called Radio Row where.
Oh, like a press junket.
Yeah. And it was all the radio stations kind of set up at tables next to each other in this room. And an artist would come in and go table to table to table to table, interview. And it was, I want to say Billboard. I want to say it was the Billboard Awards. And it was the one where R. Kelly threw a table at me.
Yeah.
And then after that, I think Britney Spears was on his label or something. And they didn't bring her in because of that. And all the other radio people were like, and this is like the height of Britney Spears.
Damn you, Ramiro.
Oh, all the other radio people were like talking trash to me. I remember getting in an elevator and they were like, oh, we could have had Britney Spears. I didn't even get to talk to R. Kelly, blah, blah, blah. And I looked at them all and I said, I don't give a shit. I don't want to be like any of you guys.
Yeah.
God forbid I tried something different and didn't say like, what's your favorite color? Because at this point I was a little more confident in my interview skills, but also at this point I was also doing more of the trying to do more of the gotcha questions.
Yeah, the shock value. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I was at that stage of my career.
Yeah.
So, but still, I was like, I've always had a little fuck you in me.
Yeah.
So like when they were saying that, I was like, you guys could all kiss my fucking ass.
Yeah.
At least you're all talking about me.
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
And nobody said anything to that. It was a weird. It was a weird rest of the elevator ride though.
All right, so now let's go kind of into the 2000s era. Mm-hmm. What to you, because musically too as well, the 90s was very heavy hip-hop, R&B.
Yeah.
When we went into 2000s, a little bit more pop forward, I would say.
It was more, the 2000s was more when you really got more of the hip-hop. Let me take it back. Either the hip hop with the like R&B artists kind of singing the hook, almost like the Ja Rule Ashanti type.
Yeah.
Or the pop song with the hip hop interlude, like with the guy rapping in the middle of the song. That's kind of like when that
like Christina Aguilera, Dirty.
That's when that started happening.
Yeah. Beyonce's solo project that's when she went solo, so she was kind of doing her thing
like
too.
Beyonce and Jay-Z, me and my boyfriend, like
so
that type of stuff.
To you, was that a fun route to go down? Because I feel like during the 90s when you were first starting, it was heavy R&B hip hop. So was that kind of fun? Because that kind of commercialized radio a lot, because people who might not have been hip hop R&B fans could listen.
It definitely did. I just didn't, at the time you didn't realize it. It's like looking back on it now. I remember one time we were in our program director's office and we were just BSing, and he said, man, like we were doing hip hop radio at a significant time in like
music history,
hip hop and music history. And we were all like, yeah, that's true. But at the time, you didn't think about it.
You were just in it.
Yeah, it's like you're just like it's like, what do they say? You're so far in the forest, you don't see the trees.
Exactly.
It's like, it was just like, oh, okay, this is what happens. And I mean, you got to think at that time, Jay-Z, 50 Cent, Nelly, Ja Rule, DMX, like they were all blowing up
Eminem, yeah.
But Eminem, but not blowing up just in hip hop. They were just blowing up
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah.
And it was it was kind of like, oh, this is how it is.
Yeah.
You know?
Did you ever get to interview either both of them or one of them, Bobby Brown and or Whitney Houston?
Whitney, no. Bobby Brown, multiple times. I interviewed Bobby Brown at Hot.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I
yeah,
did not know
yeah.
that. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I always forget he's from here.
So I couldn't even tell you how many times. I mean, yes.
Did you interview him post? I mean, I know you've interviewed him here, but did you interview him post Whitney, like around that time? Or it was a while after?
Yeah, the last time I remember was at Hot, and it was a good amount of time after.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that kind of had like settled all that publicity of her death and everything.
Shit, I think he's had a
daughter
couple
had
of
passed as well?
Yeah, I think his daughter already passed away and stuff like
Okay,
that.
yeah. So it had been a minute.
Yeah,
since
it had
that
been
had
a
happened.
minute.
Okay. Were you ever approached to do a TV show?
I was always. People would always come and talk and come up with ideas and stuff like that. So in that way, yes. Did anything ever materialize? No. And every time someone came and talked, I always immediately started like freaking tossing out ideas like
Ramiro he has a side hustle as a creative consult guy. So
I
never
really
need him.
I definitely am idea guy.
You are idea guy.
And yeah, so one time somebody was talking about doing like at the time Howard Stern was doing his radio show, and he was doing a show on E. Mm-hmm. And they would do like basically like video, almost like what we're doing here, but this was way before this stuff. And they video his radio show and then put it on and like package it and throw it on E, the E channel. And somebody, I don't know if it was NBC. I forget. Somebody from one of the local channels was like, "Oh, we should do that with your morning show." And I was like, "Let's do it. We could do this. We could do skits. We could do show clips of interviews, all that stuff." But that never materialized. Somebody else came to me about doing like a show where almost like a local version of like the Tonight shows and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And
do you think you would have translated well onto TV? Like, do you think you could host a morning talk show with like an ensemble, or do you think radio is more your vibe?
Radio is 100% more my vibe, but I definitely could do the TV thing.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the best TV guys come from radio, and I'll tell you why. It's because we are great at. We don't worry about a teleprompter. In TV, there's a lot of like stretching stuff out, and radio dudes are like, all right, whatever. Like they don't panic and go like, well, what am I going to talk about or whatever. But if you notice people who are just straight up TV people, teleprompter, whenever it's some sort of ad lib that's not teleprompter, not everybody, but a super high percentage of them suck at that.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Suck at that because they're not used to it. They're uncomfortable.
They're very... they're in the box.
100% in the box.
Yeah.
And I've always, like, for example, I hosted, this was for TV. It was a show called Community Auditions, which was like a talent show. It was actually the first ever, like, TV talent show in TV history.
Really?
From, like, the 50s or something like that. And they brought it back, and I was the host of it for a while. And for a while, then they brought in this girl, Christina, who came from TV. She was doing, I know after she was doing TV, like sports reporter stuff. She might have been doing that before, but they brought her in, and we used to like joke and everything like that off air. And then when it came time to do the show, like they would have the teleprompter, and she relied on that like crazy. And I wouldn't. I would just kind of like say my own thing. I'd kind of go with what it said sometimes, but then other times I would just like do my own thing. And she'd be like, stick to the teleprompter. That way I know when it's my turn to talk and all that stuff. And so then I was like, now just for that, I'm not going to do any teleprompter stuff. I'm just going to talk and throw it to you. And it's going to end up helping you because it's going to, now you're going to be more like on your toes and stuff like that. And she was mad at me for a while, but I think she got good at it. She got good at being like more natural and stuff.
If you're in a creative space, you gotta let room for a little bit of chaos, just a little bit.
I always just think about. It's funny because my daughter graduated high school last week, right? And she said, "What'd you think about the speeches?" And I said, "They were dry.
Yeah.
Nobody like really engaged me. Nothing special. I'm not saying that they sucked. I just think that it was on par with a high school graduation, like speakers, like how it goes. Nobody is ever really, like really gets your attention. I think for the most part, I think public speaking is like an art form because to really go up there and engage an audience, it's not easy. And I think a lot of people, especially with things like that, they just might hate it, or they get so, like you were saying, in the box that their thing is like, let me just go on, do my part, not fuck up, and then get off as fast as possible. And when you do that, it literally sounds like you're trying to get on, not fuck up,
like
and
robot.
Get off as fast. Yeah, and so, like, for example, whenever people have invited me to do speeches for stuff, I'm always like, all right, well, what do you want me to talk about? And then I'll write notes for myself, but that's it. And I'll literally just go up there and I might look at the notes and be like, all right, kind of stick to the thing. Other times stuff will just pop in my head and I'll go in that direction. And I've told people that I do that and they go, why? Why don't you just write out the whole speech or whatever? And I said, because here's what happens when you write out the whole speech. You write out the whole speech, right? And you're reading it. And God forbid you flub on a word, right? Mentally, you're stuck on that. And now you're having trouble moving on because you're like, oh, I fucked up on that word. Like it almost throws you off for the rest of the speech. Whereas the method that I use, if I flub a little bit or mess up, it doesn't matter because I'm just talking to you the way I would talk.
A human being talks.
Like a human being talks. And you and I, if we're having a conversation, every now and then a word's not going to pop in my head. Every now and then I might stutter. I might sneeze. I might cough. That's just what a conversation is.
Yeah.
You know, like if I'm talking to you and I mess up on a word, I'm not going to go, which a lot of people do. You ever notice like if somebody messes up, they'll be like, and then the platter the platter. Like they
like,
bring,
why are you glitching? Like,
they bring more attention to it.
I'm like, just keep going.
Like, yo, I fucked up. You're not doing brain surgery.
Yeah.
Nobody's gonna you're not gonna be like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
All right, guys, that's it. The speech is done.
I cut the wrong artery. Like
I cut the wrong wire. Everyone run. No.
Yeah. You don't want a brain surgeon, any type of surgeon, or somebody on the bomb squad fucking up.
Yeah. Like, no, for real.
You don't want them saying like, oh no.
Yeah.
But somebody having a conversation, whatever.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I those speeches or any of those types of people, I tend to zone out very, very fast. I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. Oh my goodness. All right. So back to music. What to you is an artist and an entertainer? And give me some examples if you can. And what I mean by this question is like, who is someone that has sat in a chair and you've spoken to or heard their music, whatever, in your career? They're like, that is an artist. They're very like focused. They know, they see their vision. And then someone who might just, like to entertain.
So, by what you're saying, which is more, is the entertainer above the artist or the artist above the entertainer?
No, give me, in your perspective, what's the difference?
Well, I'm just trying to understand because, like, Kanye West is like...
Damn, I'm only example going
like,
right. Okay,
he's somebody who, like, when you talk to him and you hear him talk, you're like, okay, he's like an artist where he, like, has visions of stuff where it's weird. As weird as Kanye is, the times he's talked about, like, music, I relate it to what I do, and I'm like, I understand what he's saying. Like, he'll say things like, I can see the sound of music. Like, he visualizes it. And I'm like, yeah, I get where he's coming from. I'm not saying I see conversation, I see stuff, but when we're doing the show, it's like I equate it to like a quarterback where it's like the play's happening, and you might have had a plan to throw it to this receiver over here, but he's covered. But this dude over here, it's like, shit, all right, he's wide open. Or if I run out of the pocket, now I could make this guy come chase me vis-a-vis leaving this guy open. I see things in that type of way.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
You know? But entertainer, now I'm going to go back to another weirdo.
God.
Puff Daddy. As far as listen, you're not asking me. I'm separating.
No, it's okay. It's
on stage, he knew what to do to get the whole crowd engaged. Like, he didn't just go on. Listen, I came from hip hop radio where a lot of guys would just go on stage with 10 members of his entourage in the background on their phones, not doing shit, just being on stage to, I don't know, not to do anything. And the person was literally just rapping and trying to get the crowd to, like, if anything, sing along or put their hands in the air and wave them like you just. And that's like, that was their version of like doing a show. And, you know.
What's that? Sorry. What's that song you guys play it sometimes? It's like, I forgot what song it is, but there's like a DJ and he's ad-libbing the whole time. He's like, what's your zodiac sign?
Yeah. What's your zodiac sign?
That's my favorite thing in the world. Because what the hell is he talking about?
You got long hair.
He's like, put your hands up. And he goes, what's your zodiac sign?
Yeah, but like that versus like putting on a show, entertaining, dancing and stuff like that. So, for example, Mariah Carey, in that version, she's not an entertainer. She doesn't do the whole dancing and all
she's
that
an
stuff.
artist. She's
an artist. But then you get like Pink.
She's kind of both.
Pink is an entertainer.
Yeah, but I would say she's equally an artist.
Yeah, she's an artist too, but like she puts on
she can put on a show.
Like a visual type of show, you know? So, is that what you mean?
Yeah, I just wanted your perspective. I mean, for being in
90% of hip hop artists are artists.
Yeah,
like not a lot of them care about entertaining.
Yeah,
that's the one thing I'd be like, yo, these dudes, like Chris Brown, entertainer.
Yeah,
a lot of the R&B guys that dance and stuff, entertainer, but a lot of the artists, like the hip hop guys, they're just like, I used to be like, yo, come on, man, act like you want to be here.
Now to kind of stay on the same track, we're going to dive into a very important topic in hip-hop music history, the resurgence of female rap. Now, for you, in the 90s, once again, you had kind of a good blend because you had the Missy Elliott's, you had the Lil' Kims, you had the Queen Latifah's. Then things kind of went quiet for a while until Nicki Minaj kind of came in. Now, a lot of people have opinions on Nicki Minaj and the beginning of her career and whatever. Personally, I think she's one of, if not the greatest female rapper. But for you, during that time, you know, maybe when her music really started pumping, you guys started playing it more, were you kind of like, oh my God, I forgot, you know, these kind of artists existed. And now if you look at the rap game now, there's a lot more. You got the like a Megan, Sexy Red, Doechii, things like that. Yeah. Why do you think it ebbs and flows? Why do you think it comes and goes?
I just think everything goes in cycles like that.
You think so?
Music, fashion, movies, just life. Everything in life goes in like cycles. But Nicki Minaj, until you can't. I mean, you could argue about her being the greatest of all time. In my opinion, she is.
Yeah.
And I never looked at her. I think.
Did you ever get to interview her?
Yeah. I think the biggest compliment with her was that, for myself personally, I never ranked her as like a female artist. I just saw her as like a hip hop artist.
Yeah, I agree with you.
You know what I mean? So like when you were talking about hip hop artists, you wouldn't be like, oh, yeah, there's Drake, Lil Wayne, whatever. But for females, Nicki Minaj, it would be like she'd be bunched in with all of them. And I think that's one of the biggest compliments that you could. That
you can get. I think she even said that. I brought up the female categories specifically because there was such a gap.
Yeah.
I think from like 2000 to 2009, 8. No, she came out like 2010.
I would say, like the mid of the early 2000s.
Yeah.
Because Lil' Kim still in the early 2000s. Missy Elliott the early 2000s.
But so I think someone like her, like a big boom in the industry. And I think I've seen interviews or clips where she's just like, I don't want to be categorized as, she's like, I've been toe to toe. There's that funny interview or somewhere where she was talking about like being on that song with Jay-Z and Kanye. And I think I could be misquoting this so wrong, but she said like Kanye almost didn't want to put her verse in because she out-rapped Jay-Z and Kanye. I think that's how she told the story. She goes, he almost didn't put it in because he's like, he's like, you're a feature and you just out-rapped me and Jay on a song. And
I never. It's funny when you were just saying that. I'm like, damn, I never looked at Nicki Minaj and was like, oh, for a girl, she's good. I was just always
It's good. It's in some instances it's good to bring up the female rap category as well, just because at the end of the day I think people gotta pay her dues. People can say what she want, but she paved the way. She reopened a door for many people that was not there. Yeah. Like all these new girls coming up now, like Doja Cat, for example. She put in a song, "Thank You, Nicki." Like she kind of tips her hat forward.
Dude, I have so much trouble with Doja Cat because...
you got to be careful. That's one of my best friends.
Well, I'll tell you why I have trouble. Because she started off as the bitch I'm a cow chick.
Exactly.
On YouTube.
Exactly.
And so to me, it was like... And she's very talented. But to me, she started off as just like... It'd be the equivalent of, let's say there was like auditions for a show, right? And you got a line of people. Mm-hmm. And some are just like very talented, and they're like, I want to get, I don't know, American Idol or whatever. Yeah. I just want to get out there,
exposure,
and show what I have. And then there's that one person who's in the line. We'll say they're wearing a cow suit, and they're like just trying to get people to look at them. And you're like, wait, can't you just wait until your spot? You're in the line. Just wait until. Yeah, you get up there and to show yourself. That to me was like Doja Cat in the beginning, where it took me a while. To like, and still every now and then it pops in, and I'm like, oh, she's a chick who said, "Bitch, I'm a cow."
No, I get that. I hear you. At the end of the day, though, she knew what she was doing, because she was putting out music prior to that. She was, and I think she might have even been signed with a label, and they literally weren't doing shit. And she produces a lot of her own music. I literally think, if I'm not wrong, the "Bitch I'm a Cow" story, she was bored and made that song at home on her MacBook, like just bored.
I hope so.
Green screen, and she just said whatever, and it blew up. As like a meme. But then she started that gave her exposure. She started releasing more music, and people are like, oh, you can actually like Lady Gaga. Wearing these crazy costumes and everything, these pop songs, like, wait a minute, you can actually really sing, you can write.
That's a personal thing of mine where whenever someone does that silly stuff, it takes me a little bit longer.
You see, I zone in.
See, it takes me a little bit longer to jump on because I'm like,
No, I zone right. I'm like, you're doing this on purpose. You want me to look at you, but why?
Right, but there's a lot of see the way I look at it is there's a lot of people that just go look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me, and then you look at them and they're like, I just wanted you to look at me.
Yeah, but most of the times though.
No, listen, different perspective.
Different perspective.
It's also because I came from you grew up in that look at me type of thing. I grew up a little bit.
Yeah. That's literally a Doja Cat lyric.
Look at me, look at me.
Look at me, you're looking,
I 100%, I believe that. That seems like a Doja Cat lyric.
And I think it's on her song Attention, where she's like dissing the public because they judge her so much. He's talking about you.
I really do.
Talking about you.
I do, because I'm like, yo, give me something. But she's had some bangers, so I can't.
Oh my god, that's so funny.
Yeah,
that's so funny. All right, we got a couple more. These ones will be fun. Okay. Obviously, you don't have to get into specifics because it's private information, but when was the first either paycheck or year in your career where you said, wow, I'm doing good? I'm asking this because I think it'd be good inspiration for others looking. Like, you're just a kid from Everett.
Yeah.
You worked your way up. What was the first year where you were like, oh, I can get my own place, or, oh, I can buy this?
So when I started... I mean, I started so young, so like just me, making money. I was like, oh, this is cool. When I started full-time doing nights, I wasn't making that much money, but in my head, I was like, I mean, I was still living with my parents for one. So in my head, I was like, this is like, they're giving me, I'm doing stuff that I love to do. Because I never got into it.
For the money.
For the money, yeah. So I always felt like I was almost like I had a cheat code to life, because I'm like, I get to do what I love to do. And then every freaking couple of weeks, they throw some money in my way, you know? So I thought that was super cool. So, but I wasn't making like a lot of money. Then I got, my first house that I bought, it was when I was doing afternoons, when I started doing afternoons. So maybe at that point. But then when I started doing mornings, like literally my salary more than doubled from afternoons to mornings. And I was like, for real? I'm like, ah, and I was like,
dinner on me.
yeah, I think I was like, I was 25. So yeah. And that, you know, and then, so that was probably the first time that I was like, holy shit, like I'm
Comes with hard work, folks. Doesn't come, just like that. Comes with hard work.
No, 100%. Yeah. But
I think it's important, for people to know, like, if you bust your butt.
Well, I think you bust your butt, but and I've said this from the beginning with people. I'm like, if your intention is about making money and stuff like that,
it's not. Yeah, you're in it for the wrong reasons.
That's not. And what is a price that will, if you're doing something, and I say this because I've seen it with people. You'll have somebody. Let's just throw $1 million. That always seems to be like this magic figure. If you're making $1 million a year, but you're doing something that you hate, I guarantee that no matter what it is you're doing, and I mean, no matter that you're making $1 million, you're going to say, this is some bullshit, man. I should be making $2 million for doing, because you hate what you're doing. I should be making $2 million. All right, fine. Someone will give you $2 million. You know what you're going to say in a couple of months? I should be making $5 million for this, because
it's never enough.
Yeah, it's never enough. And there's never going to be a price where you're like, I'm making just enough. And if you need more evidence than that, look at every really ultra rich motherfucker out there. The one thing that people have a hard time saying, all right, this is enough, is in history, power and money. In history, civilizations have been brought down.
Yeah.
War, because dudes were like, I have a good amount of power, but I want more. Mm-hmm. And then like their shit implodes. Or I have, with corporations, I have money, but we want more. And then it gets like they almost blow up their own companies because of it. So, but then you'll have people who, and I'll know dudes who like, they have 4 or 5 kids. They're driving a station wagon. They're living paycheck to paycheck, but they love the life that they've created. And they're, if you throw more money their way, cool, but they're not like living to be like,
they're like content. They're happy. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're fulfilled.
And when you're going to get into whatever it is you want to do, I think that if you're doing it, and like how I was saying in the beginning, that I was like, this is cool. Like they're actually giving me money to do this. Like they don't know that I would have done this for free. Like if you get something like that, then I think you're on the right track.
Yeah.
Whereas if, I'll go talk to a lot of kids. Like my daughter, she just graduated high school, but I would go talk to the kids at her school for stuff. And it's a program called DECA. Have you ever heard of it? It's like a business.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And she asked me to talk a couple times, and other people would come, other parents and stuff, and people with different careers would come. And I would hear them talking, and I'm like, oh my God, this person, like, they're not even like, you could tell they don't enjoy what they do.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah. And you could tell they're very affluent, make good money or whatever, but like you could tell they don't enjoy what they do.
I remember someone's grandfather, whoever, uncle, came into like middle school and said he was a lawyer, and he brought all these books, and he sat down and he was in a suit, and he was just so miserable. He was like, yeah, law school is a lot of reading. He picks up a book. He's like, this is probably the size of one of the textbooks they're going to read. Yeah. Then he was like, you got to dress up nice every day. And most of the time, you just answer people back. I'm like, wow, you're really convincing us right now.
Very generic.
I'm like, wow.
Yeah, very generic. Then there are some people who like, actually, it's funny you said a lawyer. There was a guy there who was a lawyer. You could tell he loved what he did.
Yeah.
Loved it. Just the way, because it's almost like the way somebody speaks about what they do. Like they're not even necessarily talking about the specifics of what they do. They're more talking about the feeling, the passion.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the more of just different. They're talking about it in a different way that you'll be like, I don't even know what they do for work, but I can tell they love it. Whereas some people will be like, and we do this, we do blah, 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 and this and this. And I'm like, you hate what you freaking do.
Yeah.
Like, you're giving me a laundry list of your tasks.
Yeah.
You know?
I agree. Okay. Second to last one. Do you think 25-year-old Ramiro would be friends with 25-year-old Moose? Or do you think we had to have met at this level?
I think we would have been friends back then, but I definitely think that we met at this stage for a reason.
I feel like you'd be a real asshole to me at first.
Well, it depends how.
I just feel like you're very mellowed out now.
I'm definitely way more mellowed out. I'm definitely way more mellowed out.
I can feel like I'm like, this guy hates me, but then he like low key is like, no, I like him. He's cool.
I was a little more intense back then. Also back then, it was just different because everybody, it was more. Honestly, you couldn't trust anybody. One time we did an April Fool's joke that I was basically not getting my contract renewed and that I was going to leave. And I gave like a date and all that stuff. And I remember I told the GM about it. I was like, dude, I'm going to basically shit talk you on the air, just so you know.
Yeah.
I told the show about it and that's it. And I told them like, don't tell anybody about it. The show would be like, yo, people are hitting me up and they're like, you get me in there, blah, 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 blah. Like, they were already.
That's crazy.
Yeah, they were like, oh, you got to get me in there, whatever. We actually, we called some people, and I would be, like, on the phone, but I'd be on mute, and I'd have, like, Melissa talk to them and stuff like that, and we'd record the phone call.
Yeah.
And then we play it on the air. Like, them being like, yeah, I got this idea, I got this. Like, they were talking like I was out the fucking already gone.
That's crazy.
Yeah. At the time, what Cadillac was he in New York? I think he was. Somebody in New York was hitting me up and they were like, yo, what's going on? Are you leaving? And I said, why? Because there's people out here who are talking about wanting to go to Boston to go do mornings to take your job and all this shit. So it was just a very different.
Yeah.
It was very backstabby.
Yeah, that's like bullshit.
Yeah. So I always I kept my circle tight and very. Yeah, I was looking behind me, under me, fucking everywhere. Yeah. Like, I always thought if you came to me and were nice, my first thing would be like, what do you want from me? Mm-hmm. You know, it took me a while to get out of that.
Yeah.
Like, I had that a lot. Mm-hmm. A lot.
Sometimes I'll be driving and I'll like throw on the morning show if I'm out in the morning. I always crack up laughing because I'll hear your voice or Pebble's voice or whoever. And it brings me back to when I was like growing up, and I crack up. I'm like, I was 7 years old, like driving to school, like listening to them, and now I'm like, oh hey, well, like you never know, kind of.
Yeah.
You probably get that a lot. So many people probably tell you like, I grew up listening to you, and you're like,
oh my god, I went out to dinner last week with a bunch of friends, and one of the ladies was the thing I get the most is like back in the day that the parents were like, they hit that rough point with their kid. Like, everyone hits it, kind of like when your kid's kind of a teenager or whatever. And, you know, sometimes it's just like you're not as close to your parent because you're a teenager.
Yeah.
Other times it's like you're a little more rebellious and you're like, you know, fuck you, mom. And, you know, but the one thing I've gotten a lot is people being like, you know what? You were the one thing that, like, at that time, my kid and I would bond over. So, like, when I would drive them to I was gonna say work. When I would be driving them to school and I was driving to work, we'd put you on, and that was like one time that we were both like, there was no tension between us. We were laughing at the same thing, like we were friends again, which is a cool thing to hear. And I actually got that last week. We went to dinner with a bunch of friends, and one of our friends, Mary Beth, was saying that like about her son. She's like, it was cool because you at that time, you know, I think it was with her son. She said with her son that. She's like, you were like the thing that kind of like connected us during that little period. And now I'm having dinner with you. She kind of said what you said.
And now I'm having
dinner with you.
Last one.
Mm-hmm.
How do I word this? By the way, folks, I apologize. I once again had 20 minutes to come up with everything. Let's tell them we will be having some cool guests on. Maybe not the next episode, but in the near future, these two brothers who own 4 restaurants that they opened up back to back to each other. They had a little bit of scheduling conflict. Things had to get switched around, so I did have only 20 minutes to put these questions together, but I want to word this properly. Let's say you got to, like, your favorite question to ask people if you could go back in time. If you could go back 30 years ago and just visualize, you can't touch, change nothing. What would you want to see on your first day of work or around that time? Would you want to see the first time you walk in? Would you want to see the first time you like sat in that chair? Is there a significant moment for you where you're like, oh, I'd like to see that again?
That's a solid question, Moose. And I'm trying to think because so much, like you said, there's significant moments. So a lot of it there are things that you picture in your memory that you kind of at least for myself, you just kind of visualize the moment. And then other times you feel like you're kind of deeper in where you almost like, it's like, like when you're watching a movie, watching it, and then sometimes it's like 3D, and then there's like the 4D where like you're getting wet and you smell it and stuff. And there are some memories that like I'm in that deep where I feel like I'm in like that. So if I could go back though and relive a moment, just re-experience a moment.
Can't change anything though.
Can't change it. Just re-experience it. Maybe the first time I ever did mornings.
Yeah.
Just because once I was the morning show host, not the first time I filled in for mornings.
It was your title,
as the host, because it was my title. It was like a big deal. Like it was for one of our concerts. We had a live broadcast at a hotel in our pajamas, and we had like Pink, Fabulous, a bunch of artists there that came and performed. It was a cool thing. Like TV was there covering it. Mm-hmm. So maybe like re-experience that moment. Because at that time, I just remember I was thinking like, this is cool, but I had so many things I wanted to do that I don't think I fully, like in the bucket, in the pie of all the emotions, actually like appreciating it was probably the smallest slice. Mm-hmm. Because I was so like, all right, this is cool, but I got to prove myself, and I got to do this, and I want this eventually, whatever. So I didn't really like get to like really appreciate the coolness of that moment. Yeah. So maybe probably the first ever time I my first morning show, October 29th, 2001.
I like that. October 29th, that's a good time of year to start.
June 6th was my first show ever. That was at Fun 107, 1995. June 28th was my first show ever at Jammin'. Mm-hmm. Both weekends. I don't remember the exact date of the first time I did nights, which was my first full-time gig. It was definitely in April of 97. 2000 was my first afternoon when I started doing afternoons. I forget the exact date, but October 29th, 2001 was mornings, and at Hot, the next significant date was at Hot, which was January 7th, 2016, coming up on the 10-year anniversary.
Okay, so here we are now. What's next?
I don't know, dude. Who knows? Who knows? I mean, I would love to keep doing this and, do other stuff on the side, but I've been through so much stuff in my life that the one thing I could say is that you never know what's gonna. Mm-hmm. I'm trying right now. I'm trying to control what I can control. Mm-hmm. So when something out of my control happens, I'll be more prepared to deal with it. Mm-hmm. So continue having fun on air, and hopefully people continue listening and enjoying. Mm-hmm. And if we get more markets, that'd be cool. Mm-hmm. But I might get fired next week. Who the fuck knows?
Okay, no. Since I don't work for the company, I have some opinions. So you can just stay quiet because I got some things I would like to say. I think we need more marketing for the morning show. I need a billboard on Route 1 because if the rock station can get one, then you guys can get one. I think we need proper distribution in more markets. I think the morning show needs an updated studio. Even though the studio's brand new, let me freaking decorate it for the love of God. I won't touch the soundproof boards.
Anything you'll do that'll keep the company from spending money all day. Do you know that I've done not one, but two billboard campaigns where I've been naked?
Maybe You'll do it with your clothes on.
One was with Pebbles, where I was naked and she was covering me, I think, with like a vinyl record, and that went on billboards and stuff. And then during the holidays, they made the vinyl record kind of like a wreath or something like that with a Jammin' logo. Another one was when I was with Santi and Ashley, and it was me and Santi naked, and Ashley
covering
our private areas, and not our butts, the front, like the front. And Ashley's taller than both of us, so she easily could have looked down and gotten a sneak peek. I think I had like a sock on my. I'm like this wasn't.
I thought they would at least put you guys in like underwear.
No, we were naked.
That's
naked
crazy.
Because it was like you could naked except for like movie naked, pretty much.
That's insane.
Yeah.
I thought they would be like, okay, we'll just like fix this later in post.
Yeah, no.
But no, I think you guys have a lot more to come. I like to see a lot more. I might not be here, but I might come back and be like, I'll still have my same opinions probably. I might come back, but I think you're at a cool point now because I think 20 years is one thing, but 30 years you're really like knee deep into it, and I think your voice matters, Ramiro. You know how they give you the corporate? It's your voice matters.
Yeah, right.
So I think people are fans of you, and I think there's a resurgence coming. Not many people are expecting. I told you this. I'm low-key psychic, by the way. I really am. And I told him. I said, I think there's a resurgence coming that you don't know. Yeah. It's different. I think it's gonna be something different.
Yeah. Well,
different resurgence.
Well, I've never always wanted to be like, because I like to look at it from a distance, and just over time when somebody is like, yeah, look at me, like this much above the crowd, above everyone else, they kind of have a quick burnout. It's like an athlete, and a super awesome athlete, Pedro Martinez. Like, he had about 3 awesome years and then kind of, not fizzled out, but came back down to earth. It's very rare to have that Tom Brady type of situation. But I always picture it like if I'm in an ocean, you know how like when you're at the beach and you see the, what are they called, the buoys sticking up from a distance, popping up and out of the water. I'm like, that's what I want to be. I don't need to be floating above the water, and I definitely don't want to be submerged under the water. I want to be the buoy that you can see from a distance, just consistently. And so far, that's worked out for me.
There's a quote that I love that Donna Summer said it, and I'm going to paraphrase it so bad. She was on some talk show back when she first started, and she was like, I think the guy was like, did you always know that you would be famous? And she was like, I always knew that I would be successful. It wasn't a matter of how, it was more of a matter of when.
Yeah.
She was like, and I think, you're born with that feeling. She goes, and it's not an egotistical thing. It's just you've had this thing where you know that you're special and you know you're meant to do something. And then he was just like, yeah, but like, you grew up singing in church. Like, don't you think you'd be fine with that? And she's just like, honestly, no. She was like, I always knew I was looking down on earth from the stars. And I always related to that because it's hard to express your dreams to people without sounding like a narcissist.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I like
so it's very humble of you, though, to say I just want to be a boo, because I think,
Well, because I never had that, what you're saying right now, that wasn't for me, it was, and I've told you this before, I saw what I thought life was, and I was just like, I don't want this. I don't know what I want, but I don't want this, which is all I was being presented at the time. And then when I got in radio... And yeah, I loved it, and Cadillac basically like became like my mentor, and basically said like, hey, he just helped me a lot. Like, he was just like, if you let me help you out. You have a passion for this. You could go far. I was like, cool, let's do it. I love it, but still like, and I've always wanted to be successful, and I've always wanted to do special things, but like that grew as I was into it more. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't like from when I was little and stuff, and I know I'm different and whatever. I thought I was gonna work at like an auto body shop or be like a trash guy.
Yeah.
Even though I didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what the other options were, but yeah, I wish I could. I did always feel like I was different, but not in that type of way. I just always thought I was kind of like an outcast almost.
Yeah.
But
well, stick around or do something bigger so I can come back.
Yeah, well, now I feel like nothing, I don't say nothing scares me, but in this type of realm of radio, podcast, TV, if somebody came to me right now and was like, we want you to be, and we're going to make another Mission Impossible with Tom Cruise, and we want you to be like the main bad guy, I'd be like, cool. Like, I wouldn't really be like intimidated. I would just go there and be like, cool, let me try this out.
No, I thought you said I got your rules first. I already wrote something, so you can't go in the mission, but I got to have you first, and then you can go to...
Well, I have to look at my options.
Yes,
yeah.
No,
bartender in Moose's movie, or main bad guy in Tom Cruise. I'd be like, sorry, Tom.
No, I have this really small role I'm committed to already.
I really want to say, what are you having?
It's not what you're going to be doing. No, I'm just teasing you. But this was fun. We haven't done a solo episode in a while.
Yeah, this was good.
Anything else you'd like to tell the people?
No.
Okay.
I'll tell them next time.
That's okay.
We got plenty of time to talk.
Exactly. What's it? So do we have any other guests lined up that besides those two boys?
So we got those two boys. There's a guy I have to reach out to who, by the way, if anybody knows a good guest with a good story and stuff like that, I don't care what the industry is. I want to hear it. But actually, there's a gentleman I have to reach out to him that my wife, she went on a lunch date with him, and his story, I couldn't even begin to tell you. She hit me up and she goes, you got to get this guy on your podcast. And I said, well, what does he do? She goes, well, he's on the board of, I forget what, Shell or one of those companies. And I'm like, okay. And she goes, oh, no. And then she started breaking down his story. Like, I forget, he came here from this one country with just a little bit of money because there was a coup or something going on in his country. So he basically escaped, came here, started working like a crazy shit job, just built himself up. Now he's a very highly successful business owner. I believe it's all gas stations, and he's on the board of this company. But I'm doing a really bad job of selling, but Nicole sold him to me. I just have to reach out to him. So
she has good referrals.
So hopefully we'll get him on soon.
Yeah, we got those two guys. They're cool too. So, and then I think this summer, I think our goal for the summer, we should do at least one non-studio episode. I think we should make that a goal. I mean, what with your damn schedule? You have to send me a month in advance, and I have to find 30 minutes.
I'm down for whatever.
Fit it in.
It's just
we should do a backyard session. We could do it at your crib or something.
A backyard session?
We could sell like cameras and a mic and just sit in beach chairs.
I'll do whatever. I don't care.
All right, that sounds great.
Just let me know. Like I say to Nicole, whenever we have an event, I'm like, just tell me what time I have to be ready by.
You know what? It's easier for me. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
You're our guest of honor.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Yes, and if you want to email, it's passionprojectramiro@gmail.com. Thank you so much.